Getting remarried later in life will present some issues financially, right? And getting assets sorted out. Today, we've got a specific question about leaving your new wife a place to live when she's not on or he's not on the home. So, how do you get through this? How do you make sure they're not homeless? We're going to answer a specific question that came in today with Nick. Welcome into Complete Estate Planning. Ben George with Nick Rosenbauer of the Rosenbauer Law Office. Find them online at CincinnatiEstatePlan.com. So, Nick, I know there's more and more people getting remarried later in life. I know it does present a number of financial questions and hurdles to get through. We have a specific one today that I want to run by you and work through. So here's the question. I remarried after my wife passed away, and my new wife moved in with me, but the house is mine. I want my kids to inherit the house, but also don't want my wife to be homeless if I die before her, which, as we know, is very likely as a man. So what can I do? All right, Nick. So with this question, let's just kind of start there. I mean, this is, again, a pretty common scenario for people that are getting remarried and having to kind of go through your estate plan. Obviously, a big thing you have to do once you have this major life event, right?
Yes, that is actually absolutely right. And obviously, we've talked before about anytime someone gets married or divorced, that should be a trigger to review your estate plan because a lot of circumstances have changed. Specifically for this, though, when you're getting remarried, what I see a lot is, people get remarried, and a lot of this does happen later in life just because people are living longer. Especially if someone dies young, if you become a widow or widower when you're 60, there's a good chance you could be around for another 30 years. And because of that, 30 years all alone is, and again, I don't have experience in that. I don't ever want to have experience with that. So we're seeing this a lot. And what usually happens is two people meet each other and they're both living somewhere. And then eventually we have that conversation. If we're really going to get married and be committed to this, am I moving into your house or are you moving into my house? Let's not keep two houses. Are we going to combine finances? And that can be, a little trickier when you're 65 than when you're 25. So I see this all the time. There's a couple different options. And look, I'm glad for the question because, the listener's obviously thinking about this the right way. And what you don't want to have happen is your wife comes home from your funeral to an eviction notice from your kids. Right? Because that's what you're looking at otherwise.
Is it that drastic, Nick?
If you leave the house to the kids, now all of a sudden, your wife is the tenant and the kids are the landlord. And, you can be, and I get a whole lot of people said they would never, they would let her stay. Well, really? With housing prices today, let's say there's 3 kids, everyone's sitting there. As soon as they sell the house, they get their $200,000 in equity. If stepmom is the only thing keeping me from a couple $100,000 of my parents' inheritance, how nice are we really going to be? Let's just be frank about it. And even if everyone does get along, that changes the relationship. Even if everyone's good now, I don't know that that's going to be the case. And do you think and to the listener, do you think your wife is going to want to have to walk around on eggshells, worried about, upsetting, her stepkids and living in the house of her stepkids?
Right.
And just not knowing where she's going to go. Because obviously it sounds like she sold her house.
Yeah.
Okay. So she gave up her safety. So actually the listener's I'm really proud of the listener for thinking about this the right way instead of just brushing it under the rug. So couple different options here. The first one, which it sounds like, Ben, from what the listener said, is not in play. You can give your spouse the house and, they would inherit it. Obviously, the issue there becomes it is their house and it's not going to the kids. I'm just bringing it up because for some people, they say, I'm just going to give them the house. That's not the play here. But obviously, understand if you give her the house, It is her house, and whatever she wants to do with it, and whoever she leaves it to, as far as her inheritance, would be what would govern it. So it wouldn't go back to your kids necessarily. But you also don't want to just leave it directly to your kids, because then they can kick her out or force her to pay rent. And you can just kick them out or make rent $6,000 a day, and you can kick them out if you want to. So probably the best thing to do, and we've done this a lot, Ben. I've actually, and any of our listeners looking for some help with this, give me a call. We do this type of work all the time. You write it in your trust, to give your spouse the right to stay living there for the rest of her life or his life. You have to specifically spell that out to say, if I pass away, if my wife is still around and we still own the house, she has the ability to live there for the rest of her life. And you can decide, does she have to pay rent? Does she have to pay the mortgage? Is she responsible for the bills, the utilities, the property taxes, the insurance? Even if you're not charging rent, usually you make someone, pay their own way. You don't want the kids to pay her cable bill, right? That doesn't make any sense. And again, we can play with this, but the most common piece is something to the effect that she can live there for the rest of her life. She has to pay all the household expenses and upkeep and bills and taxes and things like that, but we're not giving it to her. That's a very big distinction. We're not giving her the house, and then we say when she passes away, or if she decides to move out because she doesn't want to live there, then the house gets sold and goes to the kids or what have you. So you get both benefits of, one, she gets to keep living there. We're not kicking her out, and we're not pitting her against the kids, but also making sure that when she passes away, your house, which is part of your nest egg, the value of that, the equity of that, goes to your kids for an inheritance. And 3, you're not putting everyone in no man's land where she has to try and beg and work out a deal with your kids. Like, you've already set the rules in place. That's probably, and again, obviously, Ben, there's ways to tweak that depending on how much responsibility you want to put on your spouse and what rules you want to do it. But that's probably the best way to do it. And we've done that countless times, over the past, ever since I've been doing this type of work over a decade. So yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And I think, the listener's good to be thinking about this, because a lot of times I will ask them and they've never thought of it, or they just say, well, surely, they'll work it out amongst themselves. And then I say, you're going to pit them against each other, whether you mean to or not. So and for our listener, it's good to be thinking about this. But those are probably the most common options for you.
Okay. Makes sense. And in the case that if you do allow them to stay in the home and just pay, utilities, bills, whatever, do the kids, let's just say there's, multiple kids in this scenario. I don't know specifically on this question, but let's just say there is, do they act as a landlord essentially? And is there like rules that, hey, if you miss a certain amount of payments, I'm just thinking worst case here, if the person, the wife then decides, she's not going to pay or a few months ago or a few years ago, and she stops paying the bills or whatever else, is it just up to them then to move her out of the house?
Well, right. You have to put in, and again, this is good for every part of the inheritance plan, but you have to put in what happens if we don't follow the rules for any reason. So she has to pay the bills. If she refuses to, and the house is about to go into foreclosure, you can't, or if she tears the place apart, and the roof is leaking and she doesn't get it repaired, if she doesn't hold up her end of the deal, then, so there's ways to do that. And yeah, it's a good question. You have to figure that out. And the way I look at it is solve all of the problems before they ever become problems, instead of let people sit there, saying, what the heck do we do now? So yeah, you do want to protect both sides on this.
Okay. Very good. Well, it's a great reason to sit down with an estate planning attorney if you are in Ohio, please reach out to Nick. CincinnatiEstatePlan.com. You can schedule a meeting there, go through these options, discuss which is best for you, and then go ahead and put that plan in place so that you know that you're not pitting each other against one another, and you know that your wife will have a place to live if you do pass before her. But all important questions, all important discussions. And again, that's why you put an estate plan in place. So hopefully this answers your specific question. If you have one for us, drop us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. But more importantly, like and subscribe to the video. We appreciate that support. If you watch to here, we appreciate it. But we'd love it if you could just hit that subscribe button for us and help us keep growing. But Nick, thanks as always for the time. Looking forward to chatting again next week.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all of our listeners, we appreciate the wonderful questions. Keep them coming.
Are you feeling overwhelmed by estate planning? The process can seem complex, but it doesn't have to be. The Rosenbauer Law Office is dedicated to helping you protect what matters most: your family, your assets, and your peace of mind. Nick and the team will guide you through every step of the process, making sure you feel confident and informed along the way. Take the first step toward peace of mind today. Schedule an introductory call by clicking the link in the description of today's show.
This show is for informational purposes only and does not provide any legal advice. Information on this show may not constitute the most up-to-date legal information. Please do not act or refrain from acting based solely on anything you hear on this show. This show does not form any attorney-client relationship with the Rosenbauer Law Office, LLC. Please seek the counsel of a qualified attorney before addressing your own estate planning needs.